You walk into a dark room, you can barely see the furniture, but somehow in half a second you know exactly who is standing by the window. No lights, no details, just a shape and a shadow, and your brain already has a name for it. That should not be possible, but it is. And the real answer is far stranger than you think. Your brain is not seeing a face in that room. It is remembering one. Somewhere behind your eyes is a piece of tissue so obsessively devoted to one task that it will find a face in almost anything. A cloud, a wall socket, a person you love, standing 3 feet away in total darkness. This is the fingerprint of a survival system millions of years old. Newborn infants, only minutes old, prefer to look at face-like patterns over almost anything else. 3 dots arranged like 2 eyes and a mouth hold a newborn's gaze longer than a scrambled version of the same dots. The baby has never seen a face before, so why does it already care? Psychologist Mark Johnson tested exactly this in the 1990s, tracking how newborns follow face-like shapes moving across their vision. Babies were not learning to recognize faces from scratch. They arrived already wired to look for them. Johnson called it a primitive template, a rough sketch etched in before birth. Just enough to say, pay attention to this. That template is only the seed. In early childhood, it sharpens into something far more precise, in one very specific place. In the mid-1990s, neuroscientist Nancy Kanwisher was scanning brains, watching activity move across the visual cortex. Most regions responded to lots of things. One small patch, tucked into the temporal lobe, stayed almost silent for houses, tools, and cars. Then a face appeared, and it surged. Kanwisher named it the Fusiform Face Area, a piece of your brain built for one purpose. Damage it, and something eerie happens. People can still see a nose, a mouth, 2 eyes, but they can no longer tell whose face it is. Not a stranger's, not their own child's, not their own in a mirror. Why build something this specific? Because for most of human history, identifying a face correctly was not curiosity, it was survival. Was that figure at the fire's edge someone from your group or a rival? Get it wrong and the cost could be violent. Evolution does not reward slow analysis here, it rewards speed. Which brings us to the twist. The dark room. The half-second recognition with no visible detail at all. Psychologist Alexander Todorov flashed faces on a screen for 1/10 of a second, far too quick for conscious thought. People still formed impressions instantly, trustworthy or not, familiar or not. The brain was not reading pixels, it was matching a stored pattern built from years of exposure to the people who matter most to you. None of that requires light, it requires memory and a system built to guess the moment it has enough. That is why a stranger's face in a bad photo is nearly impossible to place, while the outline of someone you love, glimpsed in near total darkness, snaps into place instantly. Familiarity, not visibility, is doing the work, and here is the unsettling part. This system cannot turn itself off. It fires on clouds shaped almost like eyes, on a power outlet with 2 holes and a slot, on a car's headlights that somehow seem to scowl. This is Pareidolia, and it is not a glitch. It is the same machinery aimed at the wrong target because missing a real threat once cost far more than imagining 100 fake ones. You are right now carrying a brain that would rather hallucinate 100 faces that aren't there than risk missing one that is. Think about your own life. Picking out a familiar walk across a crowded street before you see a face. A blurry video call that still feels unmistakably like the person you know. Telling a stranger from an old friend by nothing but the outline of a head in a dark car. So the next time you walk into a dim room and already know who is there before you can see a single feature, remember what is happening. You are not seeing a face. You are running a program written by everyone who survived long enough to pass it down to you, tested in firelight and shadow, in every dark room that came before this one, and in half a second, with no light at all, it already knows exactly who you are looking at.